This is on our land, this is our store.
A raid on a Mi'kmaq-run cannabis store in southwest Nova Scotia. Drugs and weapons seized by the RCMP.
We're talking organized crime.
Arrests made, charges laid. This is part of a province-wide crackdown. This is the latest front in the fight over Indigenous treaty rights.
No, don't touch me, don't touch me!
These cannabis dispensaries have been popping up across First Nations in this province. The Mi'kmaq call them truck houses, in keeping with Indigenous trading posts of old. The Indigenous operators believe a nearly 300-year-old treaty gives them the right to sell cannabis, hashish, and magic mushrooms. But police say the situation has opened the door to organized crime. This whole issue is coming to a head now because of this man, Jason Popick. He's a new RCMP superintendent in the area, determined to lead the crackdown.
Canada has created laws that everyone within Canada has to abide by. They are committing a crime and they're profiting off of a crime. I investigate criminals and I stand up to bullies.
As the RCMP in Nova Scotia see it, by law, only the provincial government can sell cannabis in the province.
So this is your store. This is where the police raided it?
Yep.
But operators like Laurie Dory on the New Ross 20 Reserve will have none of that.
They took a pry bar here and pried the door, but they couldn't get the deadbolt open, so they smashed this casing off completely.
And your stock on the shelves, what happened?
The RCMP took every bit of it. All of the cannabis, all of the CBD.
But you were back in operation pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, we was back in operation the next morning.
Busted, but right back selling cannabis and hashish cheaper and with no tax, because he says it's his treaty right to do so.
The 1752 treaty give us the right for moderate living and stuff. And, you know, like we was trading. It's all trade. Like they was smoking something in the pipes. You know what I mean? Besides tobacco.
The 1752 Peace and Friendship Treaty between the British Crown and the Mi'kmaq people speaks of free liberty of hunting and fishing as usual, and a truck house, along with the liberty to sell skins, feathers, fowl, fish, or any other thing they shall have to sell. But Superintendent Popick has his doubts about whether the treaty applies.
The fact that cannabis was introduced to Canada in about 1930, it's not origin within Canada. It's relatively new to our scene. I cannot see that ever being part of a treaty from the 1700s.
Well, I think the police are engaging in some amateur botany. So I obviously disagree on their scientific assessment.
Jack Lloyd is a lawyer with a specialty in cannabis law in Canada. He says Indigenous rights should not be frozen in time, but rather evolve.
My view is that it doesn't really matter whether this dispute over the botanical classification of cannabis and whether Indigenous peoples have engaged with it since time immemorial or not. The question becomes, have they engaged with it, and has it become a part of their society and traditional activities, and is it being exercised? And certainly as a charter principle, it is, as lawyers would describe it, a living tree. So my view is that the position taken by the RCMP relies on an outdated view of the law.
And about that moderate livelihood?
So you're selling enough product to provide wages for 6 people?
6 people, yeah.
That's a pretty lucrative business then.
Yeah, yeah. It is, you know what I mean? You don't get to eat crap dinner every day.
But Popick argues it's ultimately not a moderate livelihood. It's helping organized crime.
I believe that organized crime is using the treaties and the people the very small percentage of people within the community as nominees.
Organized crime is using the treaties as cover.
That's what I believe, yes.
Popick believes for this reason the police are justified in shutting down the dispensaries.
There are 2 different groups that signed that treaty. My treaty rights are to be able to live on this land unmolested. And reciprocally, I cannot molest other people. The Treaty of 1760 stipulates that you will not traffic in any goods with the enemies of the crown, the King of England. I look at organized crime as an enemy of the Canadian people, an enemy of the Crown. And the Treaty of 1760 says you will not do that. I think what we did was correct and needed to be done.
Dory says organized crime is not involved. His cannabis is coming from a Mohawk reserve. He calls it a nation-to-nation transaction. And Dory's chief and others want the police to back off.
Because it's like this, I'm just not going to lay down. I ain't doing it.
I think that there's no evidence whatsoever of any organized criminal involvement in this. What they have are Indigenous peoples, after centuries of hardship, engaging in moderate livelihoods with a substance that has become or has always been a part of their traditional customs and trade. It's not organized crime.
The province says it's now working with Mi'kmaq leadership to allow legal cannabis stores to be authorized and regulated and controlled by the province in Indigenous communities. In the meantime, the charges stand.
Effectively, there will likely be a case that will go to the Supreme Court of Canada in which this right is asserted. And it remains to be seen what that case will look like and who will litigate it. But that is certainly brewing. The same as hunting, the same as fishing. First Nations peoples are here. They have not forgotten their rights and appear to be devoted to asserting those rights.
Setting the stage for the next fight over Indigenous treaty rights.